Today I'm going to attempt 3 different kicks at goals from 3 different areas on this field, which is a field that I experienced many difficult injuries on. So for context, I've played hundreds of games on this field since I was a young lad, and with hundreds of games comes much improvement and much development to my game, but it also comes with many injuries, many of which I found difficult to get to the bottom of at the time, and that may be something that you're experiencing now, which is why I wanted to make this video. With each of my 3 kicks, I'm going to talk you through an injury that I struggled on that particular area of the field, and it'll make sense why I had to wear these goggles at one stage in my career, and that will make more sense as the video goes on. But let me first take you through an injury that I struggled with over here, which was in my rectus femoris at the front of my quad. So let's go over there and let's attempt the first kick. So the rectus femoris is the muscle group just here. It's a muscle that stretches from your hip down to your knee, and I remember specifically tearing it here through kicking, because if you think about the act of kicking a ball, you put a lot of demand through this muscle, and if it's not strong enough to handle the demands of kicking hundreds of times a game, it's going to tear and it's not going to be able to hold up. And that was certainly the case for me many a time. And the things I did to repair this injury that are important for a lot of injuries, in fact, because as I said, I had knee injuries that we'll touch on later, and this is obviously a muscle that connects to the knee, so it was something that was important to address at this point in my career, but it was also important down the line, and it's also important if you're struggling with knee or hip issues now. So what I did was I firstly became good at doing the gar hammer raise with a bent knee like this, where I just tucked my knees towards me. You can also do this on the ground if it's easier, if you don't have access to a overhead bar. But I also got good at raising my legs on the straight, so without bending. So it's important to address this from a bent knee position, but also from a straight leg position, because it hits the leg at different angles. And it's worth mentioning, you can also do the straight leg version on the floor if you don't have access to a pull-up bar. But regardless, it's a very effective way just to build up this area, because our hips get neglected a lot, especially in modern lifestyles where we sit a lot, where we neglect it in training. So this is very important for me to address as somebody who kicks the ball a lot. And I remember specifically, it wasn't even during a game, I was giving an example to a group of kids on how to kick, and I did a demonstration kick from around this area on this field, and yeah, I kicked the ball without warming up, and my rectus femoris was not able to handle it, and yeah, I tried to play it off cool, but it really hurt. And yeah, of course, I did many of the things I just described to amend this, and you can do them too if that's something you're experiencing difficulty with, or if you just want to strengthen the hip area in general. So enough talk, I'm gonna attempt my first kick, and yeah, hope it's a good one. So that was an easy enough start, but I'm gonna take you over to this area, which is just on our left here, which is where I butchered my ankle a number of years ago, and I'm going to talk you through what I did to amend that, and I'm also going to attempt my second kick at goal. So kick number 2, we are going to talk about the ankle before we do this kick, and how I butchered this ankle and how it still clicks today. Here's a clip of how it still clicks. It's something that still makes noise, although I've gotten to the bottom of it and it's no longer an issue for me, and now I have pretty good ankle mobility, I have pretty good ankle strength, but for some strange reason it still clicks. So here's a quick clip of that. How this happened was in a tackle around this area of the field. A member of my team named Rory Woods, I'm going to name the culprit, his leg swung around in a tackle and accidentally collided with my ankle, and I had to go off straight away. It was a pretty nasty injury, one I found very difficult to get to the bottom of, but one I was eventually able to resolve through gradually loading more demand onto my ankle. And I did this is one example. I began to feel comfortable lowering my leg like this. Now this was quite painful in the beginning when I was dealing with the initial injury, but it was important that I did something like this instead of just doing icing and resting, because that was something I did for so long and it just didn't work for me. I wasn't making any progress. So as soon as I began loading my ankle in this way and just putting it under enough healthy stress for it to feel stimulated and stimulate the area to grow, because that's what needed to happen. I needed to regrow some of the areas within my ankle, or excuse me, repair would be a better word to use there. And through doing that, just through gradual exposure, I was able to go lower and lower and lower with this movement. And yeah, eventually my ankle was repaired and I was able to get to the bottom of it. But it's also worth noting that something I wish I knew then was about flossing. So you may or may not have heard of flossing, but essentially what flossing does is massage the joint. So if I talk to you about the rectus femoris injury that I had earlier, it's very easy to repair, or excuse me, let me regress. It's not easy to repair, but with a muscle injury, you can massage muscle. You can't really massage joints, or so I believed up until I saw floss bands. Now, floss bands are a way in which you can massage the joint. That's how I would best describe it, because as you can see here, I'm wrapping up my ankle, and what I like to do is just draw the alphabet with my injured ankle, which is something I wish I knew at the time. It's something I wish I had access to, and just draw the alphabet. So as you can see here, I'm on D, and I'm doing my E and my F and my G, if you can make that out. But anyhow, I did this, and then I rip off the band, and a flush of blood just flushes into the ankle, and the blood flow is what you need to stimulate the areas in your ankle to repair, which is exactly what I needed, which is maybe something you would find useful if you're struggling with ankle mobility, or you just want to keep your ankles healthy. This is something I love to do. It's also great practice for any Achilles issues, if you're currently struggling with them, or if you've had them in the past. Nonetheless, I am going to attempt my second kick, and this is a little bit more difficult. There's a bit of a wind, but I will attempt it nonetheless. And yeah, let's see if we can make it 2 out of 2. So for my third and final kick, I'm going to attempt it from here. The ball has fallen over, but I'm going to try and make it 2 out of 3. But before I kick the final kick, you're probably asking, what the fuck is that on your face, Mark? And these are rugby goggles. So at one point in my career, I had to wear these goggles to protect my eyes. And this was a combination of injuries. I'm wearing the mask on the face, which illustrates that I had some kind of facial injury, but it extended to something more than that. So this is the most difficult of the injuries that I had to overcome. And if there was any injury that I felt I was never going to be able to overcome, it was probably this one. So let me talk you through what I needed to do to make it happen, just so you understand, and just so you can hopefully draw some value from it. Because when I was 22, I was forced immediately to retire from my career as a rugby player when I was diagnosed with a blood condition that was starting to affect my eyesight. I was starting to get these really bad headaches, and it really messed up my joints, essentially. So with a combination of these factors, I was forced to stop my career, and I was told I'd never be playing again. Essentially, a lot of doctors told me that I was never going to play again. It was a period of a lot of confusion. It was a period of feeling like I lost something that was very, very meaningful to me. And yeah, because of all these messages I was getting, and yeah, I was feeling really discouraged. And then when my knee issues began as a result of this blood condition, I really didn't know how to get to the bottom of it, because you see, something like an ACL tear or a meniscus tear is quite well known at this stage. Like, we're fortunate enough to live in an age where if you tear your ACL or your meniscus, for example, there's a abundant amount of people who have recovered from those injuries. Perhaps it wasn't the case back in the 1980s, when an injury like this could have been the end of your career, but this was something that I was experiencing. Although I didn't experience either of those two injuries, I was experiencing a knee injury that I just didn't know, and I couldn't get to the bottom of it. I wasn't able to diagnose it, and this was all as a result of this blood condition. So I didn't really know anybody who was able to guide me. I wasn't able to access a role model that was able to say, hey, this is what I did to get back on the field. So I was left with a choice there. Was I going to quit? Was I going to take the doctor's orders? There was at least 11 of them who said, I'm not going to medically clear you to play again. But I was determined to try it. I was determined to get to the bottom of it, and through months of research, through months of mentorship, through months of trialing and failing at different rehabilitation and training methods, I was finally able to get to the bottom of my knee injury. So that gave me a lot of confidence that I could get back out there, but I was only allowed to go back out there provided I had something to protect my eyes, which is what explains the mask. So some of you may know Ian McKinley, who was an international rugby player for Italy. He was very generous. He was able to mentor me. And when you see someone who has done the things that you wish to do, whether that be overcome an injury or whether that be achieve a particular goal, this is what Ian represented to me. And of course, he was very generous. He was able to mentor me. He was able to provide the path for me to be confident and to get back out there, which I did. And I made my first appearance back after what I was led to believe as unresolvable issues, and it was on this very field. And the reason I want to take a kick from this spot is because I remember just having a moment at this spot during the game where I said, oh my God, I'm back. It's great to be back. And of course, that was a very, very valuable experience for me, because of course that led me to getting back to the thing I love, eventually playing at a higher level than I ever did previously, but it also allowed me to teach everything I learned to other people, such as Akos over in England, who was able to resolve his issues due to some of the things I was able to share with him, and he was able to get back and resolve 8 years worth of knee injuries after that challenged him and made him almost quit careers. So that was awesome. But it was also awesome to work with someone like David over in America, who had osteoarthritis in his knee, and he was able to get to the bottom of that. So yeah, it's applicable in my case to rugby. I use it to get back on the rugby field, all the teachings and everything I learned through all the mentorship and research, but you can apply these principles to anything that you wish to experience when it comes to getting out of pain. So whether that be getting back on the rugby field, or whether that be just going and being able to walk your dog pain free, the principles are the exact same. Use them how you wish to use them. So without further ado, I'm going to attempt my last kick and see if I can make it two out of three. Yeah. Great, 2 out of 3. But guys, that's it. Essentially what we went through today was a number of injuries that I found difficult to resolve, but I was able to resolve them in the end. And the reason I wanted to make this was essentially just to talk you through the fact that I didn't resolve these injuries through sitting around and resting and hoping for the best. I did it through putting my body under enough healthy stress in order for the area that I was trying to repair itself, because it's a mistake that I made. It's a mistake that a lot of people experience, just trying to get to the bottom of injuries through resting and icing and hoping for the best. But the real results happen, and the real sustainable change happens when you're able to stimulate your body with enough healthy stress for that area to repair itself. Now, what is healthy stress? Healthy stress can be best understood as the sensation you would feel if you were to do 100 press-ups, for example, not 120, 20 press-ups. It wouldn't be pain, but it would challenge the area in your upper body just enough to stimulate it to grow. And we want to create the exact same conditions in the area that we're currently experiencing challenges with. So, of course, this is what I did for my rectus femoris and my hip. I did it for my ankle. I also did it for my knee. And amongst any of the joint issues I experienced during the period where I was forced to retire. And the overall message is, guys, a lot of these injuries that sometimes appear to be unresolvable, even if that comes from a doctor's viewpoint, if it comes from a medical viewpoint, it can be difficult to see, is there a way of overcoming this when you're not given much hope? But that's essentially why I wanted to tell my story, because I was told the exact same things. And sometimes when you look a little bit deeper and when you consider that often medical opinions aren't accounting for your determination. If you really want to get out of pain, if you really want to achieve a particular outcome with your body, the body is capable of incredible transformational change, and the only limit on our bodily capacity to get out of pain is within our own mind sometimes. So there are solutions out there. That's the thing I want you to know. It's not always a case where there's only one solution. Surgery is the only solution, for example. There's usually a lot of solutions out there, and that's my mission. I want to make you aware of them, and I want to make sure that you're able to be in a position of choice as opposed to not having a choice and having to live with some of the things you would rather not live with, such as pain. So I'm going to finish up there, guys. I enjoyed doing this today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.